I, 28F, never thought I'd be writing this, but after everything that's happened over the past year, I need to get this off my chest. This all started when I got engaged to my now husband Jake, 30M, about 2 years ago. We'd been together for 5 years after meeting through mutual friends at a charity event. Jake is everything I've ever wanted, kind, funny, smart, and our relationship was pretty drama-free except for one major issue, his sister Melissa, 26F. From day one, Melissa made it clear she wasn't my biggest fan. At first, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was just protective of her brother? But nope. She'd make these little digs at me during family gatherings, exclude me from conversations, and constantly try to one-up me in front of Jake and his parents. For background, Melissa is the baby of the family and, according to Jake, was spoiled rotten growing up. His parents, Martha and Richard, always excuse her behavior with "that's just how she is," or "she doesn't mean anything by it." Jake had warned me about her competitive streak early on. What really pissed me off was finding out through mutual friends that Melissa had dated 2 of my ex-boyfriends after learning about them through conversations at family dinners. When I confronted her, she claimed it was just a coincidence, and I was being paranoid. Jake believed me, but asked that I try to keep the peace for family harmony. I agreed, thinking I could handle her petty BS. When Jake proposed on our 4th anniversary during a weekend trip to the coast, I was over the moon. We decided on a 10-month engagement, wanting a spring wedding without dragging out the planning process. The moment we announced our engagement at his parents' house, I watched Melissa's face fall before she plastered on this fake-ass smile. Later that night, I overheard her telling a cousin on the phone that my ring wasn't that impressive and she expected Jake to have better taste. Whatever. I focused on our happiness instead. Wedding planning was mostly great. Jake was surprisingly involved, and we made decisions together about everything. His parents offered to contribute financially despite our insistence that we could manage. My parents were equally supportive, with my mom coming to most vendor appointments. 8 months before the wedding, I found the dress. I'm not usually super emotional about clothes, but the moment I tried it on, I just knew. It was a custom-made gown with intricate lace detailing, a modest train, and delicate beadwork. The dress cost $5,000, way more than I'd budgeted, but after trying on dozens of others, nothing compared. I'd been saving for years, living on ramen and skipping vacations, so I decided to splurge on this one thing. The boutique owner, Elena, was amazing and promised the alterations would make it perfect. I kept the dress a secret from Jake, obviously, but showed pictures to my mom, my best friend Tara, and reluctantly to Melissa when she wouldn't stop pestering me about it during a family dinner. Her reaction was classic Melissa. She stared at the photo forever before saying it was nice, but a bit basic, and that she would choose something more unique. Whatever, bitch. 2 weeks before the wedding, I had my final dress fitting. My mom, Tara, and Melissa came along. I'd invited Melissa as an olive branch, still stupidly hoping we could get along. During the fitting, while my mom was getting teary-eyed and Tara was helping with the veil, I noticed Melissa asking Elena weird questions about pickup procedures, where the dress would be stored, and whether someone else could collect it if I was busy. I thought she was just making conversation, though Elena gave me this strange look. The night before our wedding, while I was checking off last-minute details with Tara at our apartment, Elena called me. Someone claiming to be me had called the boutique an hour earlier, trying to change the pickup arrangement so my sister could collect the dress instead. Elena, bless her, sensed something was off, especially since we'd already arranged for my mom to pick it up the next morning. She called to confirm if I'd made this change. My stomach dropped. It had to be Melissa. Who else would call themselves my sister? Who else had been asking about pickup procedures? I thanked Elena profusely and added a password requirement for pickup, just to be safe. I immediately called Jake, who was staying at his parents' house the night before the wedding. I explained what happened, and after a long silence, he said he'd talk to Melissa. 30 minutes later, he called back sounding pissed and disappointed. Melissa had denied everything at first, then broke down crying when Jake pressed her, finally admitting she made the call. Her bullshit explanation? She just wanted to borrow the dress for her own photo shoot before returning it. According to her, her boyfriend was planning to propose soon. News to everyone. We didn't even know she was dating anyone. And she wanted practice photos in a wedding dress. She claimed she would have returned it in perfect condition before anyone noticed. I was livid. The dress was fitted specifically to MY measurements. Even if she somehow didn't damage it, wearing it would stretch the fabric and ruin the careful alterations. More importantly, who in the hell tries to steal their brother's fiancé's wedding dress the night before the wedding? Jake was equally shocked and apologetic. We agreed to have someone guard my dress at all times. Tara volunteered to pick it up first thing in the morning and keep it with her until I was ready to get dressed, and she wouldn't let it out of her sight. I wanted to uninvite Melissa from the wedding entirely, but knew that would cause a huge family rift. Jake's parents, when told what happened, downplayed it as Melissa just being silly and not thinking things through. They insisted it wasn't malicious and begged us not to exclude her. Jake, caught in the middle, asked if we could deal with it after the wedding. I reluctantly agreed not to make a scene or uninvite her. The wedding day arrived, and everything went surprisingly well. Melissa kept her distance during the ceremony and early reception, barely speaking to anyone. I focused on marrying Jake, exchanging our vows in front of everyone in this beautiful garden ceremony. But during the reception speeches, I couldn't let it go. When it was my turn to speak and thank everyone, I added something unplanned. I publicly thanked Elena, the boutique owner, for her exceptional intuition and professionalism in saving my dress from being stolen for a fake photo shoot. I didn't mention Melissa by name, but I definitely looked right at her, and everyone who knew about the incident understood exactly who I meant. Melissa's face crumpled, and she ran out crying. Jake's parents looked mortified. His mom chased after Melissa while his dad glared at me. Jake squeezed my hand under the table, not angry but not fully supportive either. The reception continued with this weird tension, though most guests who didn't know the drama just kept partying. Later that night in our hotel suite, Jake admitted he was conflicted. He agreed what Melissa did was inexcusable, but questioned whether publicly calling her out at our wedding was the right move. "You had every right to be angry," he said, "but did you have to handle it that way?" I argued that I hadn't even named her, and after years of her shit and this final betrayal, she needed to face some consequences. We were both too exhausted to resolve it that night. The next morning, as we were leaving for our honeymoon, Jake's phone blew up with texts from his parents demanding I apologize to Melissa for humiliating her. They claimed she was inconsolable and that I had ruined what should have been a happy family occasion. My parents had the opposite take, saying Melissa finally faced consequences and Jake's parents were enabling her toxic behavior. We left for our 2-week honeymoon in Greece, agreeing to put the drama aside. The Mediterranean sun and ancient ruins were exactly what we needed, and we returned feeling more united, having talked through everything and agreed that while my delivery could have been more private, Melissa's actions were the real problem. Update 1. 1 week after honeymoon. So, get this, Melissa's soon-to-propose boyfriend was completely made up. She was single and had been for months. Jake's cousin, who's close with Melissa, told us she was concerned about Melissa's increasingly weird behavior. The fake boyfriend and engagement story was apparently part of some fantasy Melissa had created to compete with our wedding. Jake's parents kept pressuring us to apologize, insisting Melissa had emotional issues and needed understanding. Jake was torn at first, but finally took my side after Melissa tried manipulating him during a private conversation, crying and claiming I had always hated her and was trying to turn her brother against her. Jake recognized the manipulation tactics she'd used their whole lives and told his parents we wouldn't be apologizing for a situation Melissa created herself. We decided to take a step back, limiting contact with Melissa and reducing visits to Jake's parents since they kept enabling her. It wasn't an easy decision, but we needed to protect our new marriage. Update 1 month later. Shit hit the fan when Melissa showed up at our apartment unannounced, mascara running down her face, claiming I had ruined her life. Apparently, word of the wedding dress incident had reached her workplace. I mentioned it in my wedding speech in front of 150 people, and she was facing questions from colleagues. The real kicker? Melissa had been telling coworkers she was engaged and planning her own wedding, continuing her lie. Now that people knew the truth, she was humiliated and blamed me entirely. Jake, staying surprisingly calm, asked her to leave and suggested she get professional help. This triggered a complete meltdown where she screamed that I was stealing her brother and destroying their family. She only left when Jake threatened to call their parents to come get her, slamming our doors so hard a framed photo crashed to the floor. We blocked her number after that. Jake called his parents to explain what happened, but they were still in full protect Melissa mode, suggesting we were exaggerating. The family rift was getting worse, which was really hard on Jake despite him knowing we were in the right. Update 3 months later. Major plot twist. Jake's mom called him, voice shaking. The full truth had finally come out. Melissa's friend Cameron, who'd recently had a falling out with her, went to Jake's mom with some disturbing info. According to Cameron, Melissa's plan wasn't just to borrow my wedding dress for photos. She had intended to wear it for a photo shoot, then accidentally damage it beyond repair before the wedding. Cameron had text messages proving this plan, which he showed Jake's mom. The messages revealed Melissa's resentment toward me and her desire to teach me a lesson for taking her brother away. She specifically targeted the dress because she knew how much it meant to me. This revelation completely changed Jake's parents' perspective. His mom called us sobbing, apologizing for not believing us, and for enabling Melissa's behavior for years. His dad, who's not an emotional guy, also apologized. They admitted they'd always made excuses for Melissa, blaming her behavior on insecurity rather than actual malice. They held a family meeting without Melissa, where they acknowledged their daughter needed serious help. They committed to stop enabling her, and made therapy a requirement for continuing to help with her rent. Jake was relieved his parents finally saw the truth, but sad it took something this extreme. Update: 6 months later. Melissa started seeing a therapist twice weekly. After 2 months of therapy, her therapist suggested a supervised meeting with Jake and me. Jake's parents arranged this at a private room in a restaurant. The meeting was awkward as hell. Melissa read from notes, giving what felt like a rehearsed apology that acknowledged her actions were wrong but still included subtle blame shifting. She talked about feeling overlooked and replaced by me in Jake's life. The apology didn't feel 100% sincere, but Jake and I both recognized it as a first step. The biggest improvement was Jake's parents maintaining boundaries instead of making excuses for Melissa or pressuring us to instantly forgive her. This change in their approach really helped our relationship with them, and we started having regular Sunday dinners again, though Melissa wasn't included yet. Update: -1 year after wedding. As Jake and I celebrated our first anniversary at the restaurant where we had our first date, we reflected on the crazy year behind us. The wedding dress incident, while awful, forced necessary changes in family dynamics that might have otherwise continued for years. Melissa kept up with therapy and, according to Jake's parents, had made real progress. A week after our anniversary, she reached out directly, asking to meet. After talking it through, Jake and I agreed to see her at a cafe near our apartment. The difference in her attitude was immediately obvious. Instead of the defensive, resentful Melissa we knew, she seemed genuinely sorry as she gave an apology that, unlike before, felt heartfelt and unscripted. She took full responsibility without excuses, admitting to years of jealousy and inappropriate competition. She explained that therapy had helped her recognize deep-seated insecurities driving her behavior, particularly her fear of losing her place in the family as Jake built his life with me. While one conversation couldn't fix years of tension, it felt like a genuine turning point. We agreed to slowly rebuild our relationship with clear boundaries, starting with occasional family dinners and gradually increasing contact as trust was rebuilt. Jake was visibly relieved. He'd been struggling with a family division despite supporting me throughout. Jake's parents have continued respecting our boundaries, finally understanding the damage their years of enabling caused. They're more balanced with both their children now, no longer excusing Melissa's behavior while maintaining a loving relationship with her as she works on her issues. Looking back, while calling out Melissa at our wedding reception wasn't the most diplomatic move, it ended up being the catalyst for addressing toxic family patterns that had been hurting everyone. The public accountability forced a confrontation that probably never would have happened otherwise, since Jake's family was so used to sweeping Melissa's behavior under the rug. I've learned that sometimes standing up for yourself, even when it creates drama, is necessary for everyone's long-term health. Jake has learned that supporting your spouse doesn't always mean keeping the peace at all costs. His parents learned that protecting someone from consequences doesn't actually help them grow. As for Melissa, she's still working on herself, but the changes we've seen give us hope for a healthier relationship. She recently started dating someone new, for real this time, and hasn't made her relationship a competition with ours, which is a small but meaningful sign of growth. The wedding dress incident, as horrible as it was, ultimately led to more honesty and healthier boundaries for everyone. While I wouldn't wish such drama on anyone else, I don't regret standing my ground. Sometimes it takes a wedding day call-out to break years of toxic family patterns.